What's up, everyone? Welcome to Target Focus Life. Today, we have a brand new shotgun just announced. Actually, we are the first to announce this shotgun. It is the SKB RS400T with the high trap rib. This highly adjustable semi-auto shotgun is made to be a trap shooting machine. So if you're looking for a detailed and in-depth review, you've come to the right place. Let's go! I'm so excited to jump into this review. Today is the day that this shotgun is announced at SHOT Show. Not like today, the day we're filming it, but like today, the day we're releasing it. SKB sent us this shotgun in advance and wanted us to have a review ready to go on the day that they announced it. So while you're watching this review today, I'm actually out in Vegas at SHOT Show. So shout out to SKB for seeing the value in getting their shotguns out in front of consumers. The RS400T. We have not reviewed it. It's a semi-auto target shotgun. But now they just released the high trap rib option. It's still called the RS400T, but there's a high trap rib option on this shotgun, which is gonna make it more suitable for the trap shooting disciplines. We did review the RS300T, and I believe that had a flat rib and it has drop in the comb, where this is a parallel comb. So this gun is just really tailored towards that trap shooter. Now, I'm sure you could shoot other disciplines with it as well, but intended design would be trap shooting. And I liked the RS300, but I didn't really feel like it'd be a trap specific model that I would want to shoot anyways. And where SKB really shines is making highly adjustable guns for youth shooters. Like, their market isn't necessarily specifically youth, but at their price points with the adjustability, they are great for youth shooters. We all know kids don't stay the same year to year. They have a tendency to grow. And so these shotguns can really grow with a shooter. I love the customization too. I already got this gun dialed in. We'll talk more about the adjustability, but let's get things kicked off looking at the MSRP. The MSRP is $1349. Now that is just over $100 more than the RS400T. You're getting the high trap rib, and another improvement they made on this shotgun was adding the oversized bolt handle and the paddle bolt release, making it just easier to operate this gun. Big controls. I'm really excited to get out and shoot it. I did some warm-up shooting, and so far, I like what I see. The RS400T only comes in 12 gauge options, whether you do the high rib or the standard rib option. 3-inch chamber, so 2 3/4 or 3-inch shells. And this is a hybrid operating system. So it has a rotating bolt head. It uses inertia from the shot, but it also has a gas system, which we'll jump into later, that is supposed to create a light, recoiling, very reliable gun. SKB claims that this can shoot the light 1-ounce target loads up to the heavier hunting loads. So we have a variety of shells we're gonna try out today just to see if that claim holds true. Now, this gun, the high rib option, is significantly heavier than the standard rib option. SKB says the 28-inch version of this gun tips the scales at 8 pounds 6 ounces, and I think the 30-inch version is about 2 ounces more. So if we look at the standard version, it's about 10 ounces lighter than the high rib option. What I can say from just holding this gun is that it is front heavy, but honestly, I don't mind that in a trap shooting shotgun. Just that weight out front, creating that smooth move to the target. I think I'm gonna like that. Now, when it comes to options on this gun, there are a lot. Right-handed or left-handed. And that also means right or left side ejection. They also have standard size stocks and youth size stocks that give you different levels of adjustability. The standard stock goes from 13 3/4 to 15.5 inches length of pull. That happens by loosening these machine screws, very simple, and then turning the butt pad either clockwise or counterclockwise to get your desired length. When you look at the youth stock, it is from 12.5 inches to 13 3/4. But let's get this thing on a scale. 8 pounds 6 ounces is what SKB said. There can be variation, especially in wood guns, on the density of the wood. 8 pounds, about 8 ounces. Let's just call it 8 pounds 8 ounces, which I believe this is the 30-inch barrel. I believe I ordered the 30-inch, which would be spot on with what SKB says as far as weight. One big difference between the RS300 and the RS400 is the RS400 has a parallel comb. It has no drop across the length of the comb, which is generally more ideal for trap shooters. We won't go deep into the specs of the stock because it's not a standard stock. Highly customizable. There's 2 screws here that you can loosen, and then there's 2 pegs underneath. You can slide those left and right for cast on, cast off. You can put your spacers in there. You can see I've raised my comb quite a bit, and that's a great adjustment to have an adjustable stock there. But having an adjustable butt pad is huge, because if we just had a standard butt pad, or we could only adjust length of pull, that would only get me so far. But if you look at the butt end of this shotgun, you can see I've dropped my butt pad down considerably, 1/2 inch or so. That allows me to get this butt pad perfectly placed in my shoulder pocket, and allows my head to be perfectly placed on the rib. Not only that, but you'll see that the toe is out. So as that pad comes down my shoulder pocket, it's coming at an angle like this that allows it to move off my pectoral and be perfectly suited. I love the amount of adjustability on these SKBs. They're incredibly easy to adjust. I would say the only downside that I see is the butt pad is hard to replace with an aftermarket. So if I wanted to put a Falcon Strike on here, which I love to put on any gun that I'm shooting repetitively, there's machine screws that come out of here. So you would have to make some adaptations to actually be able to fit a Falcon Strike to it. It would be possible. I've done it on other SKBs. It's just not a out-of-the-box solution as easy as some of the other guns. So the RS400 high trap rib option comes with 3 chokes: mod, improved mod, and full. They're flush mounted chokes. I have one in there. Once we get to shooting, I'm going to switch out for a Carlson's that I know is dialed in. But I was shooting this gun out of the box just before this video started, and it was crushing clays. Also in the box is a choke tube wrench. Let's actually take a look and see what we have for a choke. So in the box we have the choke tube wrench. We also have a wrench to actually tighten down the fore-end cap to get that extremely tight. I haven't really seen that before, but I thought that was kind of cool. And then it comes with this little tool that allows you to pop off the bolt handle as well. Full choke. I had the full choke in. Interesting. That's why I was crushing clays at the 16-yard line. Let's just go ahead, since we're here. We're going to throw in the Carlson's. If you're ever interested in a Carlson's choke tube, we do have a link and discount code down in the description. Great products from Carlson's. And I'm sure the SKB chokes would do just fine, but I just have a habit of putting Carlson's in all the guns. So on top of the choke tubes and the few wrenches that are in there, there's a few other components that it comes with. It comes with a whole series of shims that will affect your drop, and there's some that will do cast as well. And I'm not 100% sure why that's necessary with the stock being so adjustable. I'm guessing this just gives you another level of being able to really fine-tune your shotgun and make sure that stock is exactly what you need it to be. So SKB also sends a series of spacers. These spacers are just plastic pieces that once you have your drop on your comb set the way you need it, it allows you just to put these spacers right in there. So anytime you take that off, you can get right back to the exact spot you need to. And on top of that, there is some additional posts. These posts allow you to take off the posts that come with it. They're a little bit higher, so if you need a little bit more height out of your comb, you can replace those posts. We're not going to mess with that, primarily because I have it set to me right now and I can't feel my fingers. So we are going to keep on moving. One last thing I want to check with the specs of this shotgun is the trigger pull weight. Let's just mount it up. A little heavier trigger pull. That's got to be, I'm going to say somewhere between, right around 7 pounds is my guess, but we're not going to take my word for it. 6 pounds, 3.5 ounces. 6 pounds, 5.5 ounces. So we're getting close to 6.5 pounds on this trigger, maybe slightly under. I would like it to be a little bit less. I'm not saying that's terrible, that's not doable. I prefer a little bit lighter trigger. Yeah, it seems like it's a lot to pull, but I think I've mentioned this already. My hands are frozen So that might have an impact. When I was shooting it earlier, I didn't really notice. So we'll get more observation on that when we actually get out to shoot this shotgun. Let's take a look at the ergonomics of this shotgun. This is the feel and the function. Let's see if we can find a balance point on this shotgun. If I go where the receiver meets the barrel, little forward heavy, but not terrible actually. It's really close to between the hands. I thought it felt a little barrel heavy, but it's fairly well balanced. And again, I don't mind it if it's slightly forward. Smoother swing as far as I'm concerned, which is really important in traps. In the hands, kind of a medium to a medium small grip. There does not appear to be a palm swell on this shotgun. Not that I can see visually, not that I can feel with my hands, but it has a pretty good feeling grip. My finger lands nicely on the trigger. I could go for a little bit bigger grip, but that is really based on the size of your hands, and we're all unique in that way. Like I mentioned earlier, balance is forward, but when you get it dialed in, it mounts great. It feels good in the hands. I'm happy with the forend. There's not a lot of contour to it, but we have the checkering that pretty much goes the full length of the forend. So kind of wherever your preference is of mounting, it is kind of the same all the way through. So you're getting the same feel whether you mount here, up here, wherever your hand lies. That feels pretty good. We've already talked about the stock. We won't talk much about that. We know about the highly adjustable stock. On the receiver side, the safety is a triangular safety, crossbolt safety on the rear of the trigger guard. Like I mentioned earlier, it has an oversized paddle bolt release, oversized charging handle. To get the lock back, you need to click that in. Interesting, I didn't notice this before. The loading port is more milled out on one side than it is the other. I suppose on a right-handed model, if we were gonna load one in here, it allows us to more easily get our thumb in. It is milled out differently on this left side of the shotgun. I like that detail. That makes it easy to load. And that was pretty easy to load, even with frozen fingers. I believe the difference in the standard rib and the high trap rib is about 3/8 of an inch. We do have a brass mid bead and a white front bead on this shotgun. It was really easy to take apart with one exception, and that is the barrel, but we'll get into that when we break this gun apart. Ergonomics are fairly basic, but highly functional. And one thing I'm noticing about this RS400 that's stood out to me that I did not notice in the RS300. I don't think it was there. Maybe they've changed it. Maybe I missed it. But how easy it is to load with it being milled out on that loading port and dropping down further on the left-hand side. Next, we're taking a look at recoil and reliability. We're going to start out with some lighter loads, and then we'll work into heavier loads. So I have some Federal Top Gun 1-ounce loads here. I'm going to save the Federal high overall competition loads for when we actually shoot around a trap to see how this gun does. 1-ounce loads, 1180 feet per second. Pull. Recoil, 1-ounce loads, almost non-existent. That felt pretty darn good. Let's jump to some 1 1/8 here, see if we can tell the difference in how these shoot. Pull. Pull. I didn't notice any difference. Very light recoiling. Feel like you could shoot that all day. But SKB says with this hybrid system, it can shoot from light loads to Federal Prairie Storm, 1.25 ounces. These will probably have some difference. Ooh. Pull. Actually, felt reasonably good. Compared to a lot of guns. Now, this gun's heavier. This is, what was it, 8 pounds, 8 ounces, 8 pounds, 10 ounces, something like that. That definitely helps. Having a gun that fits you helps. I was surprised how light the recoil was. Never had any malfunctions shooting this gun. I mean, kicks out those pheasant loads very, very well. It kicks out the 1-ounce loads very, very well. I like that. This handles very, very well. But that only tells part of the story. right? We're just shooting a few downrange. We're not real worried about hitting them. But what I can tell you is the recoil is very, very manageable. I'm excited to shoot around a trap with this. But before we do that, let's break this gun down. You can see what we're working with. We'll look at build quality as well as the operating system. Fore-end cap off. The plugs come off real easy if you want to take that out. Fore-end off. Now we can basically pull the barrel off, but I've had a little trouble with this a few times. I've taken it apart. Might need Jordan to help me with this. It is unloaded. 1, 2, 3. And just like that, the barrel comes off. Pop the bolt handle off, which they do have a tool in the box. I've been able to get it off by hand. And the bolt slide assembly comes off. There's just one pin on the receiver that holds the trigger group into the receiver. Pop that out. There we go. We're fully broken apart, minus taking that spring off. Nice components. I think they do a really good job with their tolerances. When you look at these SKBs, yes, they don't have high-grade wood, fancy wood. The finishes aren't the most flashy, but they're a very basic gun. They really focus on just the functionality of the gun and the adjustability and creating solid shotguns that are reasonably priced, and I respect that. As far as the operating system, I should hit on that. It has that rotating bolt head. Like an inertia shotgun, it uses that inertia, but it also uses a gas operating system. Let me get the bolt handle in here so I can let go of that for a second. If you look at the barrel setup, there is a gas piston that goes inside the cylinder. There is 4 gas ports inside of there that send the piston rearward that also assist with the operation of this shotgun. Going back together, kind of like pulling it apart, we have a little bit of challenge getting that barrel back together, but actually that time it went really slick. We'll put the plug back in for time being, or I'm going to lose it. If you look at the piston can only come back this far. So the inertia starts sending this rearward, and the piston also gives it a little bit more oomph, but it can only travel that, I don't know if that's about an inch or so. It pushes the slide assembly back with the bolt. Kind of a interesting setup, but well built. And one thing I really like is when the forearm comes back, there's a groove in the forearm that locks into the receiver so you don't get any wiggle. Like I mentioned, there's a wrench for this fore-end cap, but if you actually just put your palms together and squeeze with your palms and then just turn, you can get it pretty darn tight that way. We're here at the Alexandria Shooting Park, which is closed for the season unless we get some nicer days. It's just above freezing today. So you could get out and shoot some trap. You know, it's doable all winter long. We're gonna shoot around a trap. We'll break it down for you. We'll share bits and pieces of it, kind of what we're experiencing, what we're seeing when we shoot this shotgun. And we're gonna put it to the test and see how it does. Pull. Not so good when you miss your first shot. Pull. First post down. Missed my very first shot. I'm not 100% sure point of impact. I'm guessing it's like a 60-40, 70-30 maybe. I should have put this on paper or the pattern plate, which I think is away for the winter. So we're not able to do that this time, but starting to figure it out. If I shoot a perfect round here on out, I'm still get a 24. Pull. Finally starting to hit some of them decent. Starting to feel pretty good, but I missed another bird on that post. Pull. Did I say we're keeping track of score? I don't think we're keeping track of score anymore. I am not shooting this overly well, but it's swinging well. It is functionally great. After 2 rounds of trap, I feel like I'm finally starting to get the feel of this shotgun. Now, we didn't shoot this at the pattern plate, so I'm not 100% sure on the point of impact. It was shooting lower than I thought. It was shooting more of like a 60-40. I was having to cover the birds, but I think part of that is my setup. I could probably bring the comb up a little bit higher, because if I really press into the comb, I'm not stacking my beads, which would give me a little higher point of impact. Once I started to figure out my point of impact, I started to shoot it a lot better. I really like this gun. I think it's a great value. I think you got great adjustability, which is great for youth or really anybody at a reasonable price. I love that they added the high trap rib. If I'm shooting trap, this is the type of rib I want to go with. Functionality wise, it loaded easy, operated easily. The trigger didn't give me too much trouble. A little heavier than I'd like potentially, not a big deal. Actually, the most annoying thing is this right here. When you load your shotgun and then you go to close it, it will throw clay. So that's something to be mindful of when you're closing your bolt, when you're using voice activated systems, that you keep your gun a little more removed from the thrower, not directly in line of sight. You know, even if my body's sort of shielding it, it helps. Or you can kind of close it softer, but you got to make sure it's engaged fully into battery. That's the biggest annoyance. That's really with any semi-auto that closes hard. The other thing is you get fatigued. Not being able to rest your shotgun. Of course, I'm not shooting with a squad, so I'm shooting continually. My left arm is a little bit fatigued. That's what I like about over-unders, is you break them open and you can rest them. But semi-auto is a great option for less recoil, easy to use. I really like this gun at the price point that it's at. I think it's a great option. And I thank SKB for allowing us this opportunity to be the first to get hands-on with the brand new, well, the RS400 is not brand new, but the high trap rib is. So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video and the look at the RS400T high trap rib. Remember, whether you're in the field or in life, you're only gonna hit those shots you're laser focused on. So live target focused. See ya.